I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw this rocking chair at a trash dump. I thought to myself, there is no way somebody would throw this away and it still be in good working condition. So I decided to sit on it, to check it out, to see if it would hold me up. And sure enough, it looked in perfect condition. Then the trash attendant come up to me and told me that the person who dropped it off said, it works fine, nothing is broken. The only thing you may want to, restain it if that is desired. I couldn't believe it. So I asked for permission to take it home, and the permission was granted to me. So when my husband was gone for another military training, we loaded up in my van. That way we have enough seats for everybody and hauled it back to our farmhouse in Virginia. And now we get to enjoy our porch view from this wooden rocking chair. Last fall, right after Halloween, I stopped by a local trash dump and people were getting rid of their pumpkins. I found this one gigantic and one smaller pumpkin that I picked it up, and I knew it was too late to use it because it was almost Christmas season at that point. So I brought it home, put it in our shed, and get to put it on our porch now. I have shown all these items to you guys in my previous video for trash haul. And so let's see if I can add them to the bookshelf that I also picked up from trash on my porch. A few weeks back, I found this box full of garden goodies. There was so many garden treasures in this box, and I had an idea that I could find room for all of them in my garden. I mean, who doesn't want to go outside in their garden and see these cute, precious moment statues? This box had endless supply of wind chimes. I pulled one, another one emerged. I pulled a second one, a third one emerged. So I figured what to do with them. I've had a solution. I put them on the fence behind my blackberry bushes. The box also had a few creatures in it, and I was able to snag a fake plant. Bonus is that I do not have to water this plant. This plant will forever stay green. Now, another thing that I found are these cool rolling plant pot holders. So I don't have a pot to put in it, but it needs something to be this size right here. So it goes on this perfectly, and then it can be moved around the porch as needed. So now that I have the base, I'm going to be on the lookout for pots, ceramic pots to put on these rolling pot holders. Now, at our trash dump in the spring, people get rid of a lot of pots. I guess people start planning, decorating for spring, and so I'll be keeping my eye out for some pot plants. Earlier this summer, I had to help my husband with a farm chore. We have an old house on a property that's fallen apart, so my nosy self wanted to see what I can find in it. We found a whole swarm of honeybees, but were not successful in trying to get them to get into the bee house. Do we want this? I want that. My husband rejected my offer of a brown bottle with questionable substance in it and shook his head when he realized that I was going to make him take this TV back with us. I told him we need to go on the second story of the house to see what he got, but he told me be my guest because he ain't going. Y'all, this TV is so cool. It is so different from any TVs that I have seen. If I did my research correctly, it should be around 1950s. So we're looking at about 75-year-old TV. Now, this is my dilemma. We found it in a house that fallen apart on our piece of property. So I feel like it has a history, right? And this is where I have a hard time of letting go of old items because I feel like each one has a story to tell. Well, my husband said because it's been in elements, probably has 75 years worth of bugs in it, it ain't coming in a house. What do I do with it? Like, I have no idea what kind of project I can do with it. Or do I preserve the history and the beauty of this TV and just sell it on Facebook Marketplace for somebody else to then maybe display it in their house? I don't know. I don't know. Will you let me know in the comments? What would you do if you found this cool 1950s TV on your property? Would you sell it or would you try to come up with a project and do something with it? Also, apparently our farm was used for tobacco growing, and we have quite a few tobacco barns, but they are falling apart, and we have found a gazillion billion tobacco sticks. In my mind, there is a project to be had with these tobacco sticks. But again, have any of you have any idea what these sticks can be used for? I told Daniel, I was like, I would love to preserve the history of our house, of our farm, and the things that I find, save it so it has a history and it has a story to tell. So anyways, I have a gazillion billion tobacco sticks to figure out what to do with too. I'm running out of space on my porch, but found space for these 2 bottles. My husband was out of town for work. My in-laws were at the house, so I asked my father-in-law if he can help me with a few projects. He is very handy, and he is the only person who can bring my vision to reality. When my husband and I first got married, we lived in South Carolina. We would often visit our elderly neighbor who had a very charming house. She had large baskets hanging from her ceiling, and I wanted that in my house. I found a pack of ceiling hooks and trash, and I asked my father-in-law if he can help me put the baskets up. I thought the little basket looked out of place, so I decided to replace it with a bigger one. How about this one? Does this look better? I feel like it's more of the right size, right? What do you think?
Yeah.
Looks better?
Yeah.
I think so too.
Bigger the better.
Yeah, I think it just fits more. The other one was just so tiny. Right?
Yeah.
One day at a trash dump, I found a whole lot of stuff that somebody threw after their yard sale that had stickers on it. I guess nobody wanted, so instead of donating it, they just threw it in a trash dump. I like these decorative holdbacks and asked my father-in-law if he can help me put them up. I mentioned this in the past videos, but I want to show you another project that my father-in-law helped me bring to reality. We had this bookcase, but I found this fireplace insert in trash. I asked my father-in-law if he can help me bring this vision to reality, and now this is one of my favorite places in the house to relax. Y'all, this butter turn was one of my favorite finds from trash dump this week. I was so excited when I saw it. In fact, the day that I picked it up, I was told that there was a lot of things that were brought in that day by the same people, so it must have been like a clear out for estate sale or just an estate. There was quite a few items that I picked up that day, and this one is definitely a keeper, and I have a place for it in the house. Earlier this week, I hit a jackpot. Somebody threw away their estate. This big, huh? Look at that. All right, it looks like there is some Christmas plates. We're gonna see if they're all, yep, they're all in there. Let's get them. The butter turn was my favorite find, but I couldn't leave behind a few other items. Like this bread box. I already have one, but I figured somebody else could appreciate the beauty of this one. Then we had a plate, a milk glass pitcher, among a few other things. This plate may have a few scratches, but I saw beauty in it, and I hope somebody else will too. Now, this egg holder, I loved it and decided to keep it. Now, somebody did write dog food on this tater and onion holder, but I'm going to try to see if I can sand a little bit. And my father-in-law said that he can fix the top of it and they can use it. I found home for a few items in this pile, but this crock pot, I do not need it, but I picked it up because it was still in working condition, and I hope to donate it to the women's shelter and somebody else can still use it. Now, my boys don't really collect cards, all these sports cards, but I picked it up just in case, figuring out if they want to play with it or see if there is anything valuable in it, that it'll be fun to check it out. This dish set was new in a box. I was set to leave it behind, so I'll have to find home for this beauty for somebody else to enjoy it. This kitchen window houses all my animals. I found this little bunny in a trash dump and these two from like a thrift store. Well, now it's time to add another animal. Now here, I guess people got rid of him because he is missing a little bit of his leg. But when I see at items, I see beauty in them, so we're just going to stick him right here. Well, maybe that's what, oh no, oh boy, he did not stand. Let's try this again and put him this way. Yep, there you go. We're able to put him on this side of the window, and now look at that. We've got all kinds of farm animals, and we're giving this cow another chance at life, even though the leg is a little bit messed up. I think he'll fit right. I snagged this wooden shelf one day from Goodwill store for $10. It was made in Mexico, very solid. I added a little bit of a shoe theme to it with my decorations. So when I found this bright yellow vintage can of shoe polisher, I knew exactly where to put it. I also found a few like little brushes that I guess you polish your shoes with, and also decided to add it to this shelf. This was one of the first projects that I did after we moved from Missouri to North Carolina, where my husband is stationed, and we started to come home on the weekends here to North Carolina. Virginia, I can't keep up, or I feel like we're here, there, and everywhere. While on vacation several years back, I went to an estate sale and I saw a whole wall of hanging rolling pins, and I asked the gentleman if he was selling those rolling pins, and he said, no, that's one thing I'm not selling. I fell in love with his display of rolling pins and decided to recreate that at my home, and I absolutely love it. It's not as big as his, but still my favorite rolling pin display ever. I picked up this cookie mold at an estate sale while we were stationed in Missouri. I have a similar cookie mold that I use for my Russian cookie called pryanik that I used to sell on Etsy, and it was a huge hit. So I want to try to see if I can use recipe for this cookie that I use for this mold and try out this mold and see if I can make it work. So you guys stay tuned as I will be showing it in my upcoming videos. Can this antique mold still be used for cooking making? Before heading back to North Carolina, I have one last project to do, and it is to decorate this dresser with vintage items that I have found while we were stationed in Missouri. Now, when we moved to North Carolina for another assignment, military assignment, we're close enough to a farmhouse where we come here on the weekends. And I told myself, I'm not gonna decorate much in this room until all the walls are painted. This wall, white wall, is gonna be redone with wood. But guess what? A year later, and it has yet to happen. So today, I'm not painting, but I'm gonna decorate this dresser because I want it to look cute and cozy. And when I go to bed, it's just gonna make me feel good. So let's do it. Now, all the items in this video that I'm pulling out of my blue basket came from thrift stores. I either picked it up, most of them at Goodwill store or Goodwill Outlet. When my husband was stationed in Missouri, I would go to Goodwill Outlet every week. Now, I do resell vintage items online on Etsy, but I also picked up items to keep because I knew one day we'll be back to our house on the farm and I would want to decorate it with vintage and antique items. And Goodwill Outlet in Missouri never disappointed me. Since you pay for items by pound instead of fixed prices, I would come home with $40 worth of stuff and my whole trunk will be full of vintage items. I love picking up books and glass at this particular Goodwill Outlet because books were not by pound but by inches, so I can get a huge stack of books and pay just a few dollars for them. And glass items were also incredibly cheap. Once in a while, I would find furniture or like bulky items that would be pretty expensive if they were priced per pound. So I would ask cashier if I can get it for a set amount. So for example, I bought a wooden trash can from Goodwill Outlet for $5. I have picked up some heavy antique typewriter for $5. The whole idea behind this video and me sharing this information with you is really to encourage you that decorating a home does not have to cost arm and a leg. Times are hard, groceries are expensive, and I know as women we do want to create this cozy, comfortable environment for our family to live in, and decoration is definitely not always in a budget. As a family of 6, in our case, my husband works, I stay at home with kids and I homeschool them, so we live on a very tight budget. But I also have the desire to create a cozy, comfortable environment for my family to live in. And so going to Goodwill Outlet and digging for treasures was my favorite activity while we were stationed in Missouri. You know what my favorite part about vintage and antique items? I feel like each one has a story to tell. When I bring these items home, I feel like I'm carrying a piece of someone else's life with me. A memory, a moment, a chapter that once mattered. Maybe it's set in someone's kitchen or on a dresser just like mine, and now I get to give it a new place to shine. Putting these little treasures together makes me feel connected, not just to the past, but to the people who came before. And as I decorate this shelf, I love imagining how these pieces once made another home feel cozy. Now they're part of my home, and I hope they inspire you to see the beauty in old, forgotten things that still have so much to give. Let me pause it for a minute right here and tell you about this item. So when we lived in Missouri, my husband was stationed there, I would go to Goodwill stores and I would buy plates, any kind of dishes, pots that I used for my videos for my baking business, for my cookies that around the world that I was selling on my Etsy store. And on my way out of the store, I noticed this item. I picked it up. It was only $6 or $7, and I will look through my old videos and I'll post exact price over here when I edit this video. And I picked it up. I didn't know what it was, couldn't find any information. I just knew that it was old and very cool looking. So I joined an antique group on Facebook, posted pictures and asked if people knew what it was. I can't tell you, there were so many guesses. People would say it's an ashtray or all kinds of stuff, but what it actually ended up being is this is antique taza. In old times, you would have this item plus another that would be exact same as this, and in the middle it would be a clock, and people would put it in a mantle as a decor. Unfortunately, I only had one of those at the store, so I picked it up and I kept it in the closet for the longest time. People would ask me, I received about 30 messages from Facebook asking me if I would sell it, and I said no, because I knew I had something special. So this item right here started my love for all things antique and all things vintage. Not only did I start my Etsy business selling vintage items online because of this item, but also I started to decorate my home in vintage and antique items. So this item right here is very special to me. I think they go maybe about $300 online. It's pretty old, but yeah, I'm gonna keep it for myself and I'm gonna display it for the first time in my room. It was sitting in my closet, and so I dug it out. I'm gonna display it, and every time I'm gonna see it, I'm gonna smile and think that this item started my love for all things vintage and antiques. So this is it, friends. This is how the story ends. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you on the next page.